Hello, everybody, and welcome to Responsible AI in Action with the Responsible AI Institute, where we are speaking with some of the leading experts in responsible AI. I am very excited. We have Rebekah Tweed joining us today. Rebekah, thanks so much for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me, Patrick. I'm really glad to be here.
It's great to have you here. You are really one of the leading experts when it comes to responsible AI and responsible tech. I've had the opportunity to know you for a little while now, and I'm very inspired by the work that All Tech is Human has been doing in the space. You are, of course, the executive director of All Tech is Human. So I'm wondering if we could start there. What is All Tech is Human? What does this mean? And also, how does it relate to the responsible tech and AI movement?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that. So All Tech is Human is a New York-based nonprofit. We bring together a global community of over 30,000 people to build the world's largest multi-stakeholder, multidisciplinary network in responsible technology. So as an organization, we emphasize three things. So first, leveraging our collective intelligence so that we can more effectively tackle thorny tech and society issues, because we want to co-create a tech future that is aligned with the public interest. Secondly, we emphasize diversifying tech. So we want to include more backgrounds, more disciplines, more perspectives, more lived experiences, more ways of thinking, so that we are best positioned to meet the challenges that we face as a society. And then thirdly, we emphasize greatly increasing the pace of tech consideration to meet the challenges of the moment. We know that tech is not slowing down. We need to move at the speed of tech. So our goal as an org is to build and strengthen the responsible tech ecosystem. And we do this through three work streams. So first of all, we have multi-stakeholder collaboration and community building. Secondly, we have multidisciplinary education and resource development. And then thirdly, we have our career development work to build and strengthen the responsible tech talent pipeline. So to those ends, we have many programs and initiatives that you can find at alltechishuman.org. So we have a mentorship program, a university network, working groups. We have 7 of those. We have an affiliate program, a responsible tech talent matchmaking program, and a job board. And Patrick, I think you might have some experience with some of those initiatives and programs. But I do want to touch on responsible AI. And that's something that is a really important focus area for us. And so I wanted to zoom in on that for a second and just talk about the work that we're doing in that space, because we have this really incredible responsible AI community at All Tech is Human, and they are an especially active part of the movement. So one area that we've really focused on is our talent matchmaking program. We have a talent pool with well over 6,000 people right now, and it is especially rich with responsible AI talent and with AI governance professionals, and that's a really important part of our community. These are the people who've been involved in our responsible AI work this year. We've included just a few different things we've done so far this year and that we have in the pipeline for later in the year. Just touch on a few of those. We have a partnership that we've done it was in February with Tech Better, and it was supported by the Notre Dame IBM Tech Ethics Lab. And with Tech Better, we hosted a responsible AI governance maturity model hackathon. We released a report for that, and we had over 280 people involved in that initiative. We partnered with Thorn to get AI developers like OpenAI, Stability AI, Google, and many others to commit to safety by design principles to reduce AI-generated CSAM, or child sexual abuse material. We're currently partnering with Dr. Ruman Chowdhury, who I know you are very familiar with, her organization, Humane Intelligence. We're partnering on their first of 10 algorithmic bias bounties. And I was fortunate to have a conversation with Ruman on a live stream a couple of weeks ago about their generative AI red teaming challenge and the transparency report that they put out about their activity last summer. And the bias bounties will be building on that data. So we're going to be hosting a hackathon with them on July 9th for about 200 people in New York at BetaWorks, where All Tech is Human has a lot of monthly events and mixers that Patrick, I know you are familiar with and have attended. Um, and so these activities, of course, focus on kind of that public accountability mechanism for generative AI. But we also, coming up, we have a few other partnerships I want to mention. We have a partnership with Consumer Reports. We'll be designing and running a citizen science study focused on chatbots and consumer harms. We have an AI governance and responsible AI project in the works with IBM Research, with PwC, and others. So these are great opportunities for multi-stakeholder engagement. If you're part of the responsible AI community and you want to join All Tech is Human, it's very easy to do. Just check out our website, join our Slack community, get on our newsletter. It's just really easy to get involved. So please find a way to do so.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I cannot express that enough as well. What's really amazing about All Tech is Human is that you could tell in the work you do that there is a strong emphasis on community. As you mentioned, I know myself personally, I've been involved with a variety of the different initiatives that has been spearheaded through All Tech is Human. And it really takes a village to address a wide variety of these different issues that are taking place in the ecosystem related to public interest technology, especially as the technology continues to advance and continues to develop. Of course, ABC News recently published an article this week about Google's AI overviews and how this new search feature has not been working as smoothly as some people might have hoped. It's been producing hallucinations, false information. Google's also starting to prioritize this overview over traditional search results, which could greatly impact revenue and how businesses are operated on the web. And the technology journalist, C. Scott Brown, who was featured in this article, said, and the reason Google is because it feels like it has to keep up with companies, especially like OpenAI, for example, that are creating generative AI technologies that are threatening Google's core business, which is delivering information to people through Google search and thus delivering them advertisements that allow Google to make billions and billions of dollars. And we are really seeing kind of this AI race amongst big tech and smaller tech companies as well. It, my question for you, Rebekah, is that it appears that big tech companies are developing these technologies at a rapid pace without seriously considering the ramifications of them until after it's been developed. It seems like they're having this mentality of, okay, let's get it out there, see what happens, and then make corrections as we go, which I understand to a degree, but that also presents a lot of dangers as well. I'm wondering from your perspective, what's the danger in this, and how do you think big tech should pivot to have a more responsible approach in how they're developing this technology?
Yeah, it's absolutely a matter of incentives and priorities. Of course, Google has been working on large language models for years, a long time. But the reality of the current landscape is that Google is on defense right now and is reacting to these market pressures from, like you mentioned, OpenAI, and Perplexity and others. So the priority for Google is not going to be quality and safety, it's going to be speed. And yes, there is definitely a danger in shipping products quickly based on competition rather than readiness. And of course, Google is a lightning rod for attention, both good and bad. And we talk about public accountability mechanisms. When you think about, social media, it becomes this ultimate public accountability mechanism. And there's this strong social reward for stress testing Google's products. You might have a tweet go viral, and we saw a lot of hilarious examples with Google's AI overview from, putting glue in your pizza. There were many. There were many. Eating a pebble a day. Um, and then you also think about, okay, Google recently also had an issue with Gemini, and their kind of bias patch, if you will, that kind of dealt with just issues of bias but what they're coming up with is, oh, okay, now we have like female popes and a multiracial army of Nazis, so really what's happening here, it's not advantageous for a company developing AI to have a shoddy public rollout of a new product or a feature, but at the same time, it actually, the silver lining there, it becomes this excellent AI literacy tool for the public, because this issue, whether it's bias or accuracy, these are common to all generative AI tools. They're not unique to Google's products. It's just maybe Google, in their haste to roll out a product, has given us a very, caricatured example of how this can go wrong. But we know that chatbots hallucinate and that accuracy is an issue. And in this case, you have this additional issue that the model isn't successfully differentiating between the user-generated content from sites like Reddit, where a teenager mentions glue in their pizza, or satirical sites like The Onion, versus high-quality factual content. And according to the interview that you mentioned on ABC News, it sounds like Google is working to fix that last part about, differentiating between those types of sites. And that's a simpler issue to deal with than this larger problem of accuracy. Google's also taking another tactic of not including in the future, not including AI overviews for hard news topics or for health content. And these are attempts to deal with very challenging structural issues in the design of these tools. So when you ask about a more responsible approach, it actually requires prioritizing these longer term, deeper fixes, and dealing with the quality of the training data itself in addition. And then also, developers have to make changes during that pre-training phase too, and that's very expensive, millions of dollars for a run. So, but they need to prioritize these like more expensive, longer term, deeper solutions rather than short-term fixes that actually are really focused on just making these surface changes that address what the user sees, and that I think is what it will take to really address these issues more deeply, with things like accuracy and bias, because we know these are not easy issues
Yeah,
to fix.
there's certainly a lot to tackle, both the small issues and the large issues, as you said, and it really is this process of kind of coming together and having a deep and cohesive understanding of, okay, what are the roots of these problems, so that we could lay a responsible foundation for then this technology to evolve in an ethical way. And what you and your team are doing at All Tech is Human is really doing some incredible work to lay that foundation in order to be able to sprout a bunch of different responsible technology systems as we progress as a society. Rebekah, I feel like I could continue this conversation on and on with you, but we'll close out for today. I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to join us on the show. And as I mentioned before, I just really appreciate the work that you and the rest of the All Tech is Human team is doing to spread the awareness and to build community around responsible tech, around responsible AI. Before we part ways, I'm wondering if you could just share with our listeners where they could find out more information about you and your work.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. It's been really wonderful to have this conversation today. Please keep up with our work. alltechishuman.org is the primary place you can go to find all the links, the programs, the initiatives, the partnerships, and more information about responsible AI, as well as our other pillars. So another way you can keep up with me is I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So if you want to find me on LinkedIn under Rebekah Tweed, that would be great. And thanks so much, Patrick, for having me today.
Wonderful. Make sure to include those various resources in our show description. So listeners out there, all you have to do is scroll down, check it out. Rebekah, thank you so much again for joining us.